So next we'll take a look at the imperial system and some other countries, particularly the United States, and that's why it's important for us. But other countries use different types of measurement, and the other major one that's out there is the imperial system. So while we no longer recognize the imperial system in Canada, we still use it, and we still use it because, well, for any number of reasons. One, because we used to use the imperial system before we converted over to the metric system, however many decades ago. And so certainly some of your parents and some of your grandparents and whatnot are familiar with working with and using the imperial system of measurement. But the other thing is that because we do so much business and trade and design work and culturally related to what happens in the United States, we typically have adopted their units of measurement for a number of things as well. So most people will measure themselves, for example, in feet and inches as opposed to in centimeters or meters. And that's just part of our culture. We kind of have this hybrid measurement system going on. So as far as the imperial system goes, in terms of measuring of length, length is usually measured in units that we typically know as feet. Volume, which is how much of a substance can fit into a space, is usually measured in gallons. Mass is typically measured in pounds. And temperature is measured in degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? And so what we will see as we go forward is that there's also a conversion chart for the metric system, and you should be aware of what it is. And again, just like with the metric system, if you wish to convert from the smaller unit to the bigger unit, you divide by the conversion rate, and the conversion rate's given to you here. So in order to go from inches to feet, you would divide by 12. And if you wanted to go from feet to yards, you would divide by 3. And if you wanted to go from yards to miles, you would divide by 1760. And again, much like with the metric system, if you wish to convert from the larger unit to the smaller unit, then what happens is you multiply by the conversion unit. So to go from quarts to pints, for example, you would multiply by 2. Or to go from gallons to pints, you would multiply by 8, etc., etc. Okay. So let's do a couple of questions here just as a warm-up. So let's say that we have a wall, and we measure the wall to be 144 inches long. We want to know how long that measurement is in feet. So we're converting from a smaller unit of inches into a larger unit of feet. So in order to convert, what we need to do is actually divide by 12. So I know I'm going to start off with 144 inches. And I'm going to divide by my conversion rate, which in this case is 12. And so that's going to go from 144 inches into 12 feet. Okay. So the next question is, I've got a container that has a volume of 6 quarts, and I want to know what's the volume in pints. Okay. So in this case, if I look up right over here, it tells me that to go from 1 quart is 2 pints. So my conversion rate there is 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply my 6 quarts. Okay, so this is my larger unit, and I'm going into pints, so I have to multiply by 2. So I've got 6 quarts. I'm going to multiply that by 2. That's going to convert into 12 pints. Okay. So let's also consider a couple of examples here in terms of when we would actually use the metric system. Okay, so again, here we've got in column A, we've got the volume of a cooler. So again, volume is done as is always measured in gallons in the imperial system. If we're looking for the mass of an average person, mass is always given to us in pounds. Temperature inside of a room, temperature is measured in degrees Fahrenheit. The thickness of a magazine, um, we're looking for a small unit of measurement, so probably the smallest unit of measurement here is inches. So we'll do inches for that piece. Then if we want to find the height of an average person, we typically do that in feet and inches. So there we go. And then lastly, the distance around a running track, 200 yards. Okay. So that's just a quick example of how to go through the metric system and how you can convert from a smaller unit into a bigger unit within the metric system.